Welcome to Better Every Day. I'm Tom, here with my co-host Kelly, and we're all about turning the best self-improvement books into simple, actionable steps to help you grow and thrive. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon if you're on YouTube so you never miss an episode. All right, let's jump in and get better every day.
All right, let's jump right into this deep dive, shall we? We're tackling Atomic Habits today. You guys sent in some seriously thought-provoking excerpts from JamesClear's book.
Yeah, some really good stuff in there.
And I'm excited to break it all down with you alongside our expert here. So if you're short on time, think of this as your cheat sheet to mastering those good habits, the ones we all want.
Absolutely.
And kicking those bad ones right to the curb. Now, just to set the stage, Atomic Habits is all about self-improvement, right?
Yeah.
It's about understanding how habits work and then using that knowledge to basically design your best life, become the best version of yourself.
Exactly. It's about those tiny changes that add up over time to create big results.
I love how Clear puts it. He says, if you find yourself struggling to build a good habit or break a bad one, it's not because you've lost your ability to improve.
Right.
It's often because you haven't yet crossed what he calls the plateau of latent potential. It's like, complaining that an ice cube isn't melting when you hear it from 25 to 31 degrees.
It's such a good analogy to all the action. The real change happens at 32 degrees with that ice cube.
It's like, whoa, suddenly it's melting, right? And he's saying your work wasn't wasted. It was being stored. It was building up.
Right. It was all going towards that tipping point.
So how can we use this ice cube idea, right? Well, think about those times you felt discouraged. Maybe you were trying to write every day.
Oh, yeah.
But your novel, it felt like it was miles away.
Definitely been there.
Or you were hitting the gym, but you weren't seeing the results you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, that work, it is as accumulating, even if it feels invisible.
It is. It is like those tiny cracks forming in the ice.
Right. Just like that ice cube, that breakthrough, it's coming.
It really is.
Now, here's where it gets even more fascinating. This whole idea that habits are deeply tied to our identity.
Oh, yeah. This is a good one.
Clear says, flat out, behavior that is incongruent with the self will not last. He gives that example of wanting to be wealthy but still having a spender's mindset.
Right. Or desiring better health, but prioritizing comfort over hitting the gym.
Right. We've all been there. It's like our actions and our beliefs, they're just not lining up.
Exactly. It's like you're trying to drive a car with one foot on the gas and one on the brake.
It's not going to get you very far.
Nope. You're just going to burn out.
So how do we change this? That's where the concept of habits as votes comes in, right?
I love this concept.
Clearly tells this great story about a man who only started taking care of his teeth, really meticulously.
Oh, yeah, I remember this one.
After a dental scare, a major wake-up call.
It's funny how sometimes it takes something like that to really shift our behavior.
Right. But what's interesting is that it wasn't just about fear. It was the scare changed his motivation.
It became a point of pride.
Yeah. He adopted this new identity. I am the kind of person who values dental health.
It's like he finally saw himself as that person.
Yeah, and this works for building any new habit, right?
Absolutely.
Every time you write a page, you're casting a vote for being a writer.
Every time you cook a healthy meal, you're saying, hey, I'm the type of person who prioritizes nutrition.
Right. It's like you're building this evidence, this proof that this new person.
Right. And the more evidence you accumulate, the stronger that identity becomes.
Now, of course, this works both ways, right? Those late-night snack binges, those are casting votes, too.
They are, but it's not about being perfect.
It's about winning the majority of those votes, not every single one.
Exactly. It's about the overall direction you're heading in.
Oh.
Are you mostly making choices that align with the person you want to be?
Right. So we've talked about how our actions shape our identity. But how do we even get started with those actions in the first place? That's where the 4 stages of habit come in.
Cue, craving, response, and reward. This is the foundation right here.
It's the anatomy of a habit.
Yeah, it all starts with a cue, that trigger that sets the whole cycle in motion.
Right, like seeing your phone light up with a notification.
Or feeling stressed after a long day.
That makes you want to reach for, a glass of wine or something.
Exactly. And think about it. Our prehistoric ancestors, they responded to basic survival cues, right? Food, danger, a potential mate.
It was all about staying alive.
Right, but now we're bombarded with cues all day long.
Oh, yeah, it's nonstop.
Money, social media notifications, work deadlines, the list goes on and on.
It's like our brains haven't quite caught up to the modern world.
Nope, we're still wired for those ancient cues.
So that cue, it triggers a craving, right?
Right. It's not necessarily a conscious thing. It's more like an automatic anticipation of a reward.
Oh, interesting. So it's not even about the reward itself. It's about that anticipation.
Exactly. Think about those ancestors again. They didn't know they'd find food when they went hunting.
They were taking a chance.
Right, but that anticipation of a potential meal, that kept them going.
It's just like we keep checking our phones, right? Not necessarily because there's going to be a mind-blowing message waiting.
Right, it's that possibility.
It's that what if. That's what keeps us hooked.
Exactly. And then, of course, comes the response, the habit itself.
So that's like actually checking social media, grabbing that snack, or, lacing up your shoes and going for a run.
Exactly. And finally, the reward.
The payoff that reinforces the habit.
The thing that makes you more likely to repeat it in the future.
Okay, so how do we use all this knowledge to our advantage, right? How do we actually change our habits using these 4 stages?
Well, Clear argues that if any of these stages are missing or insufficient, the habit won't stick.
Oh, interesting. So it's like a chain. If one link is weak, the whole thing falls apart.
Exactly. So think about it this way. You can break a bad habit by removing the cue that triggers it.
Oh, that makes sense.
Let's say you're trying to cut down on social media. You could delete the apps from your phone or use one of those website blockers.
Out of sight, out of mind, right?
Exactly. By removing the cue, you're breaking that habit loop before it even begins.
I love that. It's so simple.
Right. Or you could reduce the craving.
So instead of thinking about how delicious that donut is.
Yeah, you could focus on the downsides, like how sluggish it'll make you feel afterwards.
Or those extra pounds.
Exactly. Or how much better you'll feel if you eat something healthy instead.
It's like reframing your thinking around that tempting reward.
Right. And you can also make the response more difficult.
So if I'm trying to eat healthier, I should just keep junk food out of the house.
That's a good strategy, or at least make it less accessible. You mentioned you wanted to cut back on late-night snacking.
Oh, yeah, that's my weakness.
What if you kept those snacks on a high shelf in the pantry?
Or even in another room entirely.
Exactly. The idea is to increase that friction between you and the bad habit.
Make it harder to give in.
Right. And finally, you can try to make the reward less satisfying.
So if I do happen to indulge, maybe I could pair it with something I don't enjoy, like doing the dishes.
Exactly. The idea is to create a negative association with the bad habit.
It's like training your brain to think twice before indulging.
Right. And you can do the same thing with good habits. Make them more appealing, easier to do, and more satisfying.
Oh, that's interesting. So we're not just slaves to our habits. We have the power to change them.
Absolutely. And that brings us to some of the practical strategies that Clear outlines in his book.
Like making habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
Exactly. Those are the 4 laws of behavior change.
And we're going to dive into those right after the break.
Welcome back. Now, before the break, we were talking about those 4 laws of behavior change. Making habits obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying.
And to break a bad habit, would we just kind of do the opposite? Make them invisible, unappealing, difficult, and unsatisfying.
You got it. Clear calls this inverting those laws.
Right. It's like that out of sight, out of mind thing.
Exactly. So one strategy to make a bad habit invisible is to reduce your exposure to the cues that trigger it.
Okay, yeah.
Like, let's say you're trying to cut down on social media. You could delete those tempting apps right off your phone. Or use one of those website blocker things.
Oh, yeah, those are good.
Right. I've even heard of folks who put their phones in a totally different room at night.
Wow, commitment.
To avoid that late-night scrolling.
Yeah, it's like creating a barrier between yourself and temptation.
Exactly. You're making it invisible so the habit loop can't even start.
Smart. What about making a bad habit unappealing? How do we actually change our thinking about the reward? Because it still feels good in the moment, right?
Well, remember how we talked about cravings? How they're driven by the anticipation of that reward?
Right. The what if.
To break the bad habit, we got to shift focus to the downsides.
Okay.
So instead of thinking about how delicious that donut is, maybe picture those extra pounds.
Not the jeans not fitting.
Or even, potential health problems down the road.
Right. Long-term stuff.
You could even write down all the reasons you want to quit that habit. Or create a vision board that represents life without it.
Ooh, that's visual. I like that.
Really highlight those benefits of breaking free.
Cool, cool. Okay, what about making it difficult? I bet that can really make a difference.
Absolutely. Increase the friction between you and the bad habit.
Give me an example.
If it's healthier eating, Don't even keep junk food in the house.
Harsh, but effective.
Or at least make those snacks way less accessible.
Out of sight, out of mind, again.
You mentioned wanting to cut back on those late-night snacks.
Ugh, yeah, it's a struggle.
What if they were on the highest pantry shelf?
Huh. Or like in the basement or something.
Exactly. Making the healthy choice the default, the easy one.
I like that.
And lastly, make the bad habit unsatisfying. Introduce a consequence for indulging.
Ooh, like punishment.
Not necessarily, but a consequence, yeah. Like every time you bite your nails, an extra chore.
Funny you say that. That's exactly what my mom used to do.
Or $1 in a jar every time you swear.
Right, a little financial hit.
The idea is immediate negative association.
Your brain's like, nope, not worth it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, beyond these inverted laws, Clear gets into other strategies to help those good habits stick.
Okay, lay 'em on me.
Like harnessing technology, we've got automatic bill payments, fitness trackers, even subscription services for healthy meals, all that good stuff.
Oh yeah, I love those. Makes life so much easier.
They take the decision-making OUT of the equation.
It's like outsourcing your willpower.
But, and this is important, Clear warns about the downsides too. Because the same tech that automates good habits
can make it easy to fall into bad ones.
Right. Think about those streaming services that just autoplay the next episode.
Oh man, binge watching central.
Or how social media algorithms, they just know what to show you, keep you scrolling for hours.
It's scary how well they know us.
Like they're designed to hijack our attention.
Totally.
The key, Claire says, is to use technology mindfully. Automate the good, make the bad harder to access.
It's all about being in control, right?
Exactly. Now, another point he brings up is the role of personality in habit formation.
Ooh, interesting. So are some people just like born better at this habit stuff?
Our genes definitely play a role, but Clear emphasizes they don't determine our destiny.
So it's not like if you've got the procrastination gene, you're doomed.
Nope. He believes we have control, regardless of those genes. It's about understanding your tendencies and working with them.
Okay, I like that.
You create an environment, a set of habits that play to your strengths.
So if I know I procrastinate, maybe I set super strict deadlines.
Or find an accountability partner to keep you on track.
Right, so it's working with yourself, not against.
Exactly. And this leads to the idea of the explore-exploit trade-off. It's about finding the right habits for you, not just following what everyone else is doing.
Okay, tell me more. I'm intrigued.
Clear says, at the start of anything new, we need a period of exploration. Try different things, see what clicks.
Like dating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You wouldn't marry the first person you meet, right?
Hopefully not.
You got to find what you're compatible with. Could be career choices, hobbies, even habits. Once you find those habits that feel right, then you shift to exploitation, focusing your energy on mastering them.
Got it. So it's not just about effort, it's about finding the right effort.
Right, where your natural abilities and interests, they align with the demands of the habit.
That's cool, but here's something I've always wondered. Even when you love something, doesn't practice eventually get boring?
It's true, mastery takes practice, but too much of the same thing can get stale.
And then you lose motivation.
Exactly.
So how do we fight that boredom?
Clear suggests introducing variability. If you're a runner, explore new routes, vary your pace.
Keep it fresh.
Learning a language, try different methods.
Oh yeah, like apps, classes, talking to native speakers.
Right. Keep your brain engaged, prevent that autopilot mode.
Makes sense. This has all been super helpful, but I'm still kind of stuck on that identity piece.
What about it?
Clear talks about how habits shape our identity, but also our identity influences the habits we choose. It feels like a chicken and egg thing.
It is. It's a feedback loop. They constantly influence each other.
So how do we break out of that loop if we're stuck with negative habits and a self-image that, isn't helping?
That's where the idea that those small wins comes in again. Even if you don't fully believe in the new identity yet, act as if you do. Choose one tiny habit and stick with it.
Like even if it's just 5 minutes of meditation a day.
Exactly. You're showing yourself with proof that you are that kind of person.
And that proof builds up over time.
Right. It's like those small wins cast votes for the person you want to become, even if your current self-image doesn't quite match up yet.
Okay, so it's actions first, then the beliefs catch up.
It can work that way because those actions, they change your experiences, your results, and that starts to shift how you see yourself.
Fascinating. So it's not about waiting for some magical motivation or confidence to appear.
Nope. Start with those tiny actions, even if they feel insignificant.
Fake it till you make it, almost.
In a way, yeah. But it's more about proving it to yourself. with each small win.
I love that. It feels empowering, actually.
It is. It gives you back control. You're not a victim of your habits. You're the architect of them.
All right, I'm ready to start building, but there's still one thing I'm wrestling with. Clear says happiness is fleeting because it's tied to getting what we want.
Right. And as soon as we get it, another desire pops up.
So we're always chasing that next hit, never truly satisfied.
It can feel that way, but Clear suggests true happiness is in the pursuit, not just the achievement.
So it's about finding joy in the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a powerful shift in perspective.
It really is. It's not about arriving. It's about who we become along the way.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah, this deep dive has been incredible. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And remember, you have the power to change your habits, and in doing so, change your life. Okay, so we're back, and before the break, we were talking about that explore-exploit trade-off, remember? Finding those habits that really click for you. But even when we find those, I mean, doesn't it get, I don't know, boring after a while?
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works. As we get better at something, it can actually become less engaging. We talked about adding some variety to spice things up.
Right. New routes for running, different language learning apps.
Exactly. But Clear also goes back to one of his big ideas, the link between habits and identity.
Oh, yeah, that's the core of his book, right? Habits are the path to changing your identity, he says.
And he takes it even further. He says the most practical way to change who you are is to change what you do.
Whoa, that's powerful.
Right. We often try to change habits with just willpower.
Yeah, like I'm going to force myself to do this.
But Clear's saying the real change comes from shifting our self-image.
Okay, so like how do we actually do that?
He gives these examples like each time you write a page, you are a writer. Each time you practice violin, you are a musician. It's about those actions solidifying who you see yourself as.
It's like you're proving it to yourself one page, one practice session at a time.
Exactly. You're building evidence for this new identity.
So if I'm meditating every day for a week, I'm not just meditating. I'm like casting votes for mindful me.
I love that. You're collecting proof that you are that person.
And it goes the other way too, right? Those bad habits, those late night scrolls on the phone.
Those are casting votes too, just not the ones you want.
So it's not just about adding good stuff. It's about becoming the kind of person who does that good stuff naturally.
Right. And that's where those small wins come in, remember? Those tiny improvements. They build the evidence for this new identity, slowly but surely.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But how do we know we're choosing the right habits in the first place? Like, are there some that are just better than others?
Well, we got to go back to that explore-exploit thing. Finding what resonates with you.
Not just following the latest trend.
Right. Clear talks about the good player versus the great player. The good one works hard at the game everyone else is playing.
But the great player?
They create a new game, one that favors their strengths, avoids their weaknesses.
So if I'm like a super introverted person, maybe group fitness classes are not my jam.
Maybe solo workouts are better.
Right. Running, hiking, stuff like that.
Exactly. Find what feels right, and then you master it.
Got it. Got it. This has all been so helpful, but one thing I still struggle with is motivation.
Yeah, the long game, right.
It's easy to be excited at the start, but then it fades.
Clear talks about this too. He says we should never stop reflecting on our habits.
Like checking in with ourselves.
Exactly. Always looking for ways to make them more effective.
Oh, I like that. So it's not about reaching some perfect state. It's about continuous improvement.
Right. Always evolving.
Makes those habits less boring too, I bet.
Definitely. Now this leads to another idea Clear brings up about happiness.
Ooh, okay, I'm listening.
He argues happiness is kind of fleeting because it's tied to getting what we want.
And as soon as we get it, there's something else.
Exactly. Always chasing that next dopamine hit.
Sounds a bit depressing, honestly.
It can be. But Clear suggests the true happiness is in the pursuit, not just the achievement.
The journey, not the destination.
Right. It's about enjoying the process, the growth, the challenge even.
That changes things. Makes those daily habits less of a chore, maybe?
I think so. It's about who you're becoming along the way.
I love that. Well, wow, this deep dive has been incredible.
It really has.
We've covered so much, the 4 stages of habit formation, making them stick, breaking those bad ones.
Even the link between habits and happiness.
It's been amazing. Thank you for joining us, everyone. And remember, you have the power to change your habits one tiny step at a time. And in doing so, you change your life. Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Better Every Day. We hope you found some actionable insights to help you on your self-improvement journey. If you enjoyed the episode, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on future deep dives. And if you're on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, small steps every day lead to big changes. See you next time.